Hey there, it's Jen Ferguson with Artistic Painting Studio, and I got a great tutorial today. We are going to cover tips and tricks on embossing stencil designs. Hey, I am so excited, guys, that I get to share with you one of my favorite techniques, which is embossing stencils. Okay, one of the products we're going to play with is going to be Golden Paintworks Venetian plaster. I got a big gallon container here, yes. And then also we are going to play with our texture medium, which is our brand. Kind of give you the ins and outs of working with both and why I like to choose one over the other, or one might just work better for your project, okay? So the first thing I normally do when I'm embossing stencils is I will grab my spray adhesive, and this is a repositionable spray adhesive. So it's not a permanent mount. It's actually meant to be sprayed on the back side of a stencil and give it a little bit of a tack so it will stay in place, especially when you have part of your design where you've got little areas like this could easily be bent up. I always take that stuff outside, okay? Spray the back of my stencil and then bring it in. And you do want it to sit for a couple of minutes before you actually put it in position, okay? And then I'm just pushing it, making sure that I have all these parts down. And there's one part of the stencil that's actually bending the wrong way, so I'm gonna give it a little bit of help to hopefully keep it flush, okay? But make sure you let it dry for a couple of minutes, because otherwise it could leave a residue. I don't know if I said that or not, but make sure you do, okay? And then there are different tools, okay? One of my favorites that I'd used for years was my old room keys. So I never turn in my hotel keys. They make what I call very flexible, easy styrene trowels. And then also our little mini trowel is wonderful to work with as well. So kind of depending on how big your stencil design is, how much area you're doing, you're gonna probably find one of these is gonna work better than the other. Now, what I'm going to basically want to show you is how to do this, plus I want to show you the two different mediums. So the Venetian plaster is the one over here that's super creamy, okay? And then we have texture medium, which has a lot of body to it. Okay, it's not going to fall off that key. It's not running. It's just kind of a fluffy feel to it and really easy to use with stencils, okay? The stuff is durable. You can use it on your furniture, you can use it on your walls, whatever you decide you're going to emboss. So because I've got the room key already messed up, okay, and put that product on there. Now you can use the short end or you could use the long end of it, okay, either way. And I basically get my thumb underneath where the product is on that side, and my fingers are all on the other side, and try to use this as perpendicular to the surface as possible and just glide it over the stencil. Now, the other thing that I'm always going to look at is if I have a part of a stencil where you've got these little areas here, I wouldn't go against it, okay, and go this direction, but I would definitely be bringing the product from the outside in and over that, so that I'm also trying to help make sure I don't lift anything from the design itself, that I make sure that I'm working with the pattern. I'm not putting much pressure at all on here, and all I'm doing is backfilling the stencil, basically the thickness of the mylar, okay? So I'm not trying to build it thicker than that. Normally when you have stencils that were designed for the embossing technique, they're cut out of a 7 or a 10 mil mylar, which means they're thicker than a traditional style stencil. Traditional stencils that were basically created for a paint application are cut out of a material that's only 5 mil, so they're thinner. So just the thickness of the material is going to be enough to give you the illusion of a raised design. And that's basically all you do, okay? You're gonna get some marks that are these straight lines here from like the edge of either the key or even a trowel. Most of the time you're not going to see those because they're just going to be inside of the design. And if you do, you could always sand those off in the end. Okay, so don't get too hung up on those little marks. The one thing that can happen is no matter what medium you're working with, if you keep troweling and pulling back over the same area over and over again, you can force the product underneath. So be careful and mindful of that. Okay, on your mini trowel, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to actually load just the right side of the trowel. I'm going to use my stir stick and put a little bit on that edge only. And that way I can just go ahead and glide this over those openings. And you want to try to always keep it where there's a slight angle, not put it completely perpendicular, because if you do, it can suck to the stencil and want to lift it up. So just keep putting, don't overload it because you want to be able to control always your products and your application. So don't try to load too much on at one time, but just glide it over the design. You can go in both ways, not unless you're looking for something to be absolutely perfect, okay? If I get a little holiday, meaning I missed a little area, I missed a little area there, I think I missed one here, I'm not going to get so hung up on that I'd probably just leave those instead of going back over them over and over again. Especially with the Venetian plaster, which you can see is so much creamier and thinner than our texture medium, that this product could easily go underneath the stencil. So you want to be careful about repetitively going over an area over and over again. I got this one section that's just not filling here. Okay, there we go. That just about got it. And then I'm just going to glide over the top a little bit and try to get rid of any of those super distinctive marks. And then if you've also taped it into place, which if I'm on a wall or if I'm doing something that's not just horizontal where I've got, like a drawer front laying flat and I can put the stencil on and the adhesive spray on the back can keep it in position. You also want to put tape down, but when I am using tape, I'll release that tape first before I'll start to pull the stencil so I don't have anything that's working against me. And then just pull it straight up. That adhesive is going to give it a little bit of stick and want to keep it stuck to the surface. But overall, this actually went really well. Neither one of them bled under. I had something, I guess, stuck to the back of the stencil that left that little black piece there, but that is it, okay? Now, if you were going to be doing a repetitive type of design and repeat this again next to it or adjacent to it, you want to let this completely dry. Because if I come in here with this stencil and I go to position this next to it and it's going to overlap the previous area that has been embossed, it will totally flatten it out, kind of suck to it and do some damage, okay? So as I'm working with my stencils and I'm going in between repeats, and I've done a couple of repeats, I will go ahead and like clean off the edge of my trowel, then go ahead and scrape over the stencil. And this is what I do in between repeats and at the end when I'm ready to go clean it in my sink. I want to try to get as much of the product off as possible so that I'm not putting that stuff down my sink. You can see it's on the trowel, and it also will push it into all of the openings, okay? If by chance you got anything on the back, you can just find a clean section. Okay, I'm just gonna flip over my paper here and pull this over, but find a clean section of your paper, and this is just craft paper, and then all you have to do is just wipe off the back, okay, if by chance anything got on the back side of the stencil with your repeats. Let that dry and then continue your project. And that's it. Embossing is beautiful. It really gives a gorgeous three-dimensional application. You can emboss with your products untinted as I've done. You can tint them first, or in the end, you can paint over, glaze over, do whatever you would like. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's always a really fun technique to do, and I hope you guys will take your chance at doing some embossing. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me today for this fun tutorial. For a complete list of all the materials and supplies, just see the description below. And do us a big favor, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my upcoming tutorials.